As electric vehicle drivetrains have improved and battery technology has become more and more advanced, the range of vehicles getting plugged in is growing, with everything from buses to large mining trucks turning to battery electric tech as their source of motive power. In the passenger vehicle segment, we've seen electric car tech migrate from small city cars to full-size vehicles and SUVs, and pretty much every major automaker out there is promising us that we'll see some new all-electric models, often as many as 10 or more, launching in the next few years. Some will be city cars, some are expected to be crossover SUVs, and we'd assumed that some would also be pickup trucks. Ford, for example, is allegedly working on a plug-in hybrid pickup truck. But while General Motors, you might know them as Holden in some parts of the world, has produced plug-in vehicles in the form of the Chevy Volt and Chevy Bolt EV, as well as a couple of plug-in Cadillacs too, for some time now, it doesn't have any plans to produce an electric pickup anytime soon. At least that's according to Mike Abelson, GM's Vice President of Global Strategy, who told the Detroit News recently that for the short term, GM's core business will be GM's core business for the next couple of decades to come, and there will be no autonomous vehicle or electric vehicle pickups. Take that report out of context and stop right at that point, as many outlets have, it's easy to cast GM as the villain of the piece, especially if we look back at GM's treatment of the EV1, as I'm sure many will do in the comments section. But to look at the statements a little more thoroughly, we need to take it in the context of where the interview was happening, as well as some other important statements made. And we also need to look at some of the wider plans GM has for the future. Before I go any further, I should point out here that I'm not condoning or excusing any statement or not. I'm simply trying to lay the facts out as they appear. And yes, while I do own a GM vehicle myself, a Chevrolet Bolt EV, which I like very much, I still don't agree with all of the choices GM has made or the plans it has for the future. But that's my personal view, and I'm going to keep those out of this video as best I can. Okay, so if we pull a little bit out from the sound bites I've already given from Abelson, you'll see a little more context in the story. Talking at the FT Future of the Car Summit USA in Detroit, Abelson said a whole lot more on the future of GM's fleet than many reports cite. First, he hinted that air transportation, GM has apparently talked with air taxi companies about using autonomous electric vehicle tech to create flying cars, will play a part in the future of the company. Although he also said it would be some years away before we'll see such a vehicle get produced and sold in any large volume. Reiterating the 20 all-new electric GM vehicles in the next 5 years promise that GM has been making throughout 2018, Abelson also reiterated GM's plans for a self-driving electric car fleet in a major US city next year. It's likely, although not 100% clear, that fleet will involve GM's autonomous vehicle division Cruise. In discussing the future of electric vehicles, Abelson said that EV adoption isn't optional but mandatory going forward, noting that the rest of the world is moving aggressively towards electric vehicles. With battery tech giving longer-range vehicles at lower costs, Abelson reiterated that GM expects demand for the Bolt EV to rise, with a 20% planned production increase by the end of next year. While we've heard it from many other companies before, Abelson also said that he expects GM to lead the industry in EVs sometime in the next decade or so. With all of that added for context to the whole not making electric pickup trucks statement, what's really going on? Is GM against electric cars? Is it just playing at compliance? Is it all smoke and mirrors? Honestly, if you want my opinion, the answer is no. Like many mainstream automakers out there, pickup trucks and SUVs not only represent GM's core business by volume, but also its core business by profit. And like some other automakers out there, it seems that GM may be using the profit from its core businesses to fund the development of its electric and autonomous vehicle divisions. It's not cool from an environmental point of view. In fact, it makes little to no sense, but from an economic point of view, it does. If we add that to the mix that many pickup drivers are far from convinced about battery electric vehicles, you only have to look at the comments to the recent video we did on plug-in hybrid pickups to see that, and it seems logical from a business point of view to leave pickups until last. Aha, some of you will say, but Tesla brought electric vehicles to market without even selling a single internal combustion engine vehicle. You're just making excuses. And to that, I'll say this. I can see how it may seem that way, and in fact, when writing this portion of the script, I did have to rewrite it several times. But let's not forget that while Tesla does now seem to be in a newly discovered era of profitability, it was sales of its Model S and Model X, both high-ticket luxury cars, which helped fund Model 3 development. And even today, Tesla still can't quite yet afford to bring that mass-market, affordable Model 3 standard range to market. As for the Tesla pickup, well, that's coming after the Tesla Semi, a vehicle designed for commercial use. And when examining the cost effectiveness for a fleet of several hundred tractor-trailer units, a large company with plenty of cash on hand, like PepsiCo or Anheuser-Busch, is going to be looking at total cost of ownership and savings in a very different way to an individual looking for a daily driver or even a work vehicle. The sad fact of this is all quite simple. Developing electric and autonomous vehicles, just like any vehicle development, is very costly. Tesla and the rest of the auto industry are just going about it in different ways. GM's CEO, Mary Barra, hinted in September, in fact, that GM is looking at an electric pickup for the long-term future. In auto industry speak, that's likely to mean 10 plus years down the road. If Tesla comes out with an electric pickup, or someone else does, that attracts as much attention and demand, GM and other automakers will certainly change their plans. Does it mean GM is really interested, or is it just making a business-based decision, using profit from one sector of its lineup to fund another? Let me know in the comments below. That's it. Thanks for joining me, and see you next time.